Yo! Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Final Word with MattyB here on the It's a Rap Sports Network. Which boy MattyB on the call on this lovely Monday evening, March the 24th, 2025. And I want to send out a special thanks for those of you that were tuned in. And I did watch some of it. I didn't watch all of it. I was running around here trying to put out fires, literally. So I didn't get a chance to watch it all, but I will later on tonight. But Big Al, thanks, brother, for coming on. Stepping in for the wraparound with Sal G. Al, good to see him back on the airwaves. You know, it's been a long time coming. The relationship between me and Al on the Edge of Philly Sports is pretty well documented, or maybe it's not. I don't know. I guess we kept it kind of secret. You know, of what I did for EOP and kind of how me and Al sort of like got together and whatever. I mean, it's stuff for a 30-30 on ESPN later on. And, you know, when I make it big and I'm sitting on the top of my palatial, you know, business office down there on 12th and Market Street in Center City, Philadelphia, they can do a 30-30 about how my humble beginnings began and how Big Al was involved in that. But no, Al's a good friend and always welcome here on this network. You know, you need people in your life to give you chances. You need people in your life to take take a chance on people and take a chance on you, not knowing how it's going to end up and having some sort of, you know, not having preconceived notions, I would say. And that's what Al did for me. Didn't know me from Adam when I first reached out to him over 5 years ago, I guess we're coming up on 5 years now, and allowed me to kind of wiggle into EOP. And then I took it from there and did what I do, spread my seed all over the place. But no, it was great. Thanks for Al to come on and help me out tonight, or help Sal G out tonight and the network as he hosted the wraparound. And he's welcome back anytime. And you'll be seeing Al from time to time here on the network, because he's going to help us out with the Fights Final and maybe do some spot work from time to time. And who knows? Something might be a brewing. I don't know. I'm going to leave it at that. But I want to thank Al for coming on. But welcome back to the Final Word, your last stop on your sports day. And boy, oh boy, do I hold that responsibility with a sense of reverence. And I want to provide as much dignity to that position as I possibly can. I don't know how much dignity that is, but we're going to get into some things tonight. Now, we might continue the conversation because I said I did watch some of the show that Al did, and it wasn't as homeristic as I thought it was going to be. I thought Al had like 6 months worth of pent-up homerism in him, and he wanted to spew out all over my airways, but he didn't, and I got to thank him for that. He kept it sort of moderate, but he did have a positive answer for everything, and that's sickening, honestly. But that's Al's thing, and I'm not gonna take that away from him. But you know, we could continue some of that conversation, and there is some news to continue to talk about as the Phillies spring training has completed. We're done finally. We can now look forward completely ahead to the 2025 regular season, and the Phillies have made their final decisions, I think. I know I heard something earlier today, and I put something up on Twitter earlier today with my projection of what I think the Phillies bench will round up. We can go over the projected 26-man roster and give one last sort of like check on that. I'm also going to talk a little bit about tonight about what it's like to be a sports fan, because I was thinking about that today, and how that sort of is a way of life. You know, it really is. I know there's certain degrees of sports fans, and you know, I could throw the Philadelphia sports fan notion in there, and maybe that's a whole different level of sports fandom. But in general, to be a sports fan, you know, it's life altering and it's life directing. I mean, you go down life, you travel a road in life a specific way, listening and paying attention to specific things, and not listening and paying attention to specific things. And we'll get into some of that conversation. A little lightheartedness tonight, a slow night in general, right? I know the Eagles made another move today. You know, Rando number 7 joining the team as once again, and I know, and this was sort of where Al kind of went off on the Homer rant, where it was a great move by the Eagles. No, it ain't. It's a depth move. It's not a great move. The guy's sitting on the scrap heap for 2 weeks. No one's picked him up, and the Eagles go out and they get him. It's not a great move. It's a depth move. So maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll do the other night segment in our card review and all the great, wonderful things that we do here on this show, on this network. And of course, we'll start it all off with our day in Philadelphia sports history, as I'm not prepared for it. Wow. Wow, you caught me. But yeah, we'll do that. We'll do all those great things tonight. But before we get into started, let me remind you that this show is brought to you and sponsored proudly by all the folks here of the It's a Wrap Sports Network, and all the good work they do and all the great work we do. Please, I want to remind everybody that the Flyers coverage continues here on this wonderful network tomorrow night. Sal G will be back in the house, back on the post-game seat, as he'll get you for the Toronto game tomorrow. I'm pulling double post-game duty on Thursday. I'm on the Fighting's final on around 7 o'clock, and then I'll be coming back around 10 o'clock to do the Canadians Clear the Ice show. No final word on Thursday night. That's too much, MattyB, even for me. So, and then Sal will have you on Saturday, and that all leads up to our crescendo event on the 31st of March. Me and Big Mike are going to finish up our broadcasting post-game Flyer season against the Nashville Predators, doing it together, as it should be, as we're going to cease post-game Flyer operations for this season with the game on the 31st. And the reason why we're ceasing is because it's time to pay attention to this. That's right, the Fighting's final, the Phillies, Major League Baseball. It's all back. And it'll come crashing down on us on Thursday afternoon or early Thursday evening. Me and Sal will have you on the opening day call from Nationals Park. We're not going to be at Nationals Park, but we're going to have you post-game. Big Mike coming at you on Saturday, and me and Big Al, and the aforementioned Big Al, are going to have you on Sunday afternoon. So you'll have an opportunity to see me and Big Al in cahoots together. It's an interesting dynamic we have when we work together. It's always been interesting. But anyway, let's get, Joe Hale. Hey, Joe, how are you? I am great, Joe, and I hope you are good too. Barbara, how you doing? Hi, sweetie. I just checked in with Al at the Emporium. Yes. Well, that's great, Barbara. I'm going to sit back after this show, and after I, placate the wife a little bit, I'm going to sit down and rewatch the show. I didn't really get a chance to sit down and really watch it because I was literally putting fires out over here. And I'll check it out. But thank you for checking in. Again, another huge shout out to Big Al for stepping in. He didn't have to. He doesn't have to do any of this stuff, but he helped me out, and I appreciate that. And again, I said this 5 months ago when I first formed this network, or actually it was just a channel back then. It wasn't even going to be a network. It was going to be me doing the final word. That was all it was. And then it grew from there. But I said that obviously the way the Edge of Philly Sports thing kind of worked out, it was nobody's bingo card. It wasn't on any of our bingo cards, and I never held any. And of course, I know the story of why, obviously, and I'm not gonna share any of that because it's personal. But I had no ill will feelings towards anybody. Life comes at you hard sometimes, and you got to do the best you can with what you can at the time. So we all went into a sort of a reorganizational period, and we all kind of broke off into each our own different ways. And but there's never been any ill will towards Al. It's been quite the contrary. Al and me have stayed in pretty tight contact over the last 6 months. He provides a lot of counsel for me, and I provide some information for him, and he's been doing some work for me, as you can see tonight. So there's definitely no hard feelings there. And I don't know this for sure, so I'm not going to speak out of turn. I can't speak for the others, but I don't think there's really any personal issues with Al with anybody that I know. I know Big Mike, Sal, EOP guys that came with me, nothing there. I know the Gobbler doesn't have any issues, but I don't think there's any. And if there was, it's misplaced and it's misunderstood. So Al's welcomed here, and it was great to see him, even though it was only for about 5 minutes. That's all I had, but it's great to see him behind the microphone again. That's where he belongs, man. And I hope that's the first of many times we get a chance to see him here on the Edge. I said the Edge of Philly on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. Wow. I'm excited for the Phillies. Joe, I am too. And we're going to get into some Phillies talk. Barbara says Flyers gave up 7 goals to a Chicago team that scored 9 goals total in the last 7 games. Shaking my head. Yeah. And what was it on Saturday? Fedotov comes in, gives up 2 goals in about 3 minutes, and gets yanked for Urson. And I remember watching the remainder of the game Saturday, because I kind of came in late for that game against Saturday against the Stars. And I saw that Urson was in, and I saw that they were down, and I kind of caught up, and I found out how they were down. And they pulled the goalie. I didn't see Fedotov sitting on the Flyer bench. I thought maybe he'd gone out because he got hurt, and I was wondering, well, who are they going to bring up? Is it Kovalsov going to come up from the minors and join them in Chicago? But no, they went back with Fedotov, and he got shelled. So what? 9 goals in the last 2 games for Fedotov. Obviously, the question now is, or you can add this to the rebuild list, we need a goalie. Fedotov's not the answer. Fedotov's not even a backup answer. Kovalsov's not the backup answer either. The backup answer is Sam Urson. I think we can all agree to that. But they got to go find another goalie until the other group of prospect goalies, Bjornsson and Zarajin, are ready to get their shot at this. So sign a veteran goalie for a couple, 2-3 years, and then let it roll there. But yeah, it's unfortunate, Barbara, because no one saw the Carter Hart thing happening. At least everybody alleges they didn't see it happening, and nobody had any prior information on it. And how can you set your watch by something like that? And but again, I didn't think Carter Hart was the guy either. Honestly, I think he was pretty good, but he wasn't a franchise guy. But add it to the list. And no one said this was going to be easy. No one told Danny B this was going to be simple. Add it to the list. We got to figure it out. But and then also the lack of offense as well. It's just pathetic, Barbara. But I feel you. Joe says Big Al was great tonight. I missed it. Yeah, again, preference this by saying I didn't watch all of it, but I will. And I'm sure he was great. I'm sure he was 100% fantastic. And I miss him too, Joe, honestly. Speaking of the devil, Big Al, everyone has been awesome, and I'm very candid about the situation. Yes, and kind of going back to what I just said, it's not I don't know of any personal ill will towards him at all throughout that whole situation. So was it something we were all jumping up and down and slapping high five? No, of course not. But it was something life threw at us, and we had to, you had to roll with the punches there. And obviously, if what happened at EOP didn't happen, I wouldn't be sitting here right now, Lord and Master of my own sports network, with the fates of millions at my fingertips. I wouldn't have that power, and I need the power, man, because if I don't have power and constant attention, I'll die. I mean, I need it all. So I got to thank y'all for that in the long run. But yeah, you know me. Yep. Thanks, everyone. Let's go. Fedotov cooked. He's struggling. Yeah, we talked about this. Well, we've been speaking about the goalie situation since I would say about February. They just don't have the right combination right now. We have, I think we found a backup goalie, though. I think Urson, you can pencil that one in. I think you can put him on your scorecard as the backup goalie for the future. But we need a starter. And Fedotov's not the answer, or Urson's not the answer at starter. Fedotov's not the answer at backup. Kovalsov's not the answer at backup. We got those 2 goalies on the way in about 2 or 3 years. Potentially, to give them a chance to be the starter, but you got to bridge that gap, and you got to find somewhere to be competitive between the pipes. And going out to try to find a starting goalie, there's some older veterans available in the free agent market this year that won't cost you an arm and a leg, and you can probably get them for 3 years or 2 years, 2-3 years. That's what I'm looking at, to kind of bridge that gap to those 2 younger goalies get here. I don't see any other way around it, though. Honestly, I don't see any other way. Are there any goalies in the draft? Not projected first round talent. There's always goalies in the draft, but nothing projected in the first round. A projected first round goalie doesn't happen often. I think the highest projection of a goalie is a kid out of the OHL. He's 17, and I think he's projected in the lower end of the 3rd round. And it's a light goalie draft, not like it was a couple years ago when the Flyers took Bjornsson and Zarajin back-to-back in 2nd, 3rd round. So there's nothing projected this year. There's no Carter Harts. There's none of that. There's some mid guys that are in the 2nd or 3rd round. So I don't think, and honestly, if there was, I don't think the Flyers have the luxury of taking a goalie high. With all the offensive and defensive problems on this team, I mean, you've addressed it already. You've addressed the goaltending situation already 2 years ago in the draft. You got to allow that to work itself out. You got to, and there, it's not like we're a goalie away. It's totally not like that. It's just another, lump of crap to throw on the pile here. So even if there was the next Dominic Hasek projected coming out and he was a first round talent, I don't think the Flyers have the luxury of taking a goalie in the first round right now. They just don't. They've invested some capital in Bjornsson and Zarajan over the last 2 seasons. They took back-to-back draft picks in the second and third round on these guys 2 years ago or 3 years now. You got to let them try to figure it out. And now you got to move on to other things. And I do believe that, and I remember when it happened, I remember the drafting of those 2 back-to-back, and I always wondered, what the hell, why? I think the Flyers had an idea then what was happening with Carter Hart, or what potentially could happen with Carter Hart, because I'm racking my brain. Why would you take back-to-back picks, a second and a third, on goalies? The Flyers have never done that in the history of their organization. And I think the information about Carter Hart was given to the Flyers around that time that it was about to break and that they needed to protect themselves. And honestly, that's why I think they took back-to-back goalies. So, but no, nothing high first round talent. And even if there was, I don't think the Flyers are in a position to take them. I'm upset that I missed the Philly show yesterday, but I couldn't get home in time. Oh, Barbara, it's preserved forever on the YouTube and on the Google and on the Twitter. It was a fun, almost 2 hours of me, Sal, and Mike going back and forth about the Phillies. And obviously, we're going to put some bows and cherries and all that on top of our Phillies talk tonight, as I think we have a bench. I think we have a bench, and I think we have a starting rotation, and I think we have a lineup. Now, I know we have a lineup, but I don't know where people are going to be in that lineup. Rob Thompson has softened his stance on potentially pulling Schwarber out of that lineup position. I'm hearing now it's going to be a platoon of leadoff people, depending on the pitcher, Turner or Schwarber, lefty versus righty. Talk about a non-committal, friggin' platitude given to the fans. That is what that's exactly what that is. You know what, or get off the pot, man, with this damn lineup situation. And it makes me wonder if they don't go full commit mode to somebody else. And I'm not saying it's got to be Trey Turner, but somebody else leading off other than Schwarber. It tells me a lot about who's running the show out in that dugout. And that scares me. And that scares me that Rob Thompson doesn't have the cojones, depending on what region of South America you're from, to dictate to his players who's batting where. And I don't think it's coming from any other source but the players, right? I don't think it's coming from any other avenue but the players saying they don't want this or they want this. And that scares me about this team. And that's one of the other reasons why I don't necessarily believe in them as a World Series team this year. 88 wins and losing in the NLCS is my projection for the Phillies in 2025. Losing to the Dodgers in 4 in the NLCS, getting swept right the hell out. And I just don't believe, and that's another reason why I don't believe, because any fool and even the biggest homer can see that you take your biggest RBI man, which is Kyle Schwarber, 130 last year, and you slide him down inside, deeper into the lineup, at 4, 5, 6, wherever. Any fool can see that. And I don't want to hear the nonsense about, well, you only lead off the game once. Okay, I get that. But you know what? How comfortable or confident would you be with Kyle Schwarber batting with the 7, 8, 9 guys on base in front of him versus Kyle Schwarber batting with either the 1, 2, or 3 guys on base in front of him? So that whole you only lead off the game once theory is a bunch of crapola. All right. I get all that. But I'm looking at putting Kyle Schwarber in the biggest possible RBI position that I can on my team, and that is in the middle of the lineup. I don't care what era of baseball or what garbage analytics stuff you're going to throw at me. There's no way to justify Kyle Schwarber leading off. There's just no way to justify it. You're wasting big power numbers. You're wasting a 248 batting average from last year, and that has nothing to do where he batted in the lineup, by the way. You're wasting all that. Kyle Schwarber batting 4th or 5th probably picks up 20 more RBIs on the season, like 150 for the season. So that's concerning. It's concerning, and it's concerning for, I think, the reason why he might be softening his stance, because the players are softening their stance, and they're digging their heels in, and they're like, no, I don't want to lead off. I want a bad fourth. No, I just don't. I don't want any of that nonsense. And if that's what's happening, and if that's true, and we've had sort of like inclinations about that, about who was really running things in the dugout, that's another reason why Rob Thompson's got to go. Right, Michael Papernick? Where you at, brother? Come on in here. I said Rob Thompson has to go. Torts might quit for his own mental health. I say he's very good coach, but the roster is the pits. It is. Yeah, I know a lot of people are starting to call for John Tortorella's head, and I honestly don't believe that you're justified right now, because how many years did we let Brett Brown toil in the process? Was it 6, 7 years, or 5 or 6 years before they began to kind of resemble a basketball team? And then, you kind of evaluated them from there. Let John Tortorella coach a hockey team. Give John Tortorella a hockey team to coach first. And I'm not saying you got to fall in love with the guy and, sign him to a lifetime contract. And as you mentioned, Barbara, who knows? Maybe he's had enough. I don't think he has. I think Tortorella wants to see this thing through. I think Tortorella wants to hand off the team to somebody and say, you got a team. Now take them somewhere and run with them. And right now he'd be handing off basically the same product he got when he took over. So I think the competitive nature in him, the sense of not finishing the job, because we all knew him coming here was never going to result in a Stanley Cup. Now, he came to this town under different pretenses under Chuck Fletcher. It wasn't a full-blown rebuild at the time, but I'm sure in the inner circle behind closed doors, there was a lot of talk about a potential full rebuild happening. So he knew coming in that what he was getting himself into. And then, of course, he fully knew what he was getting himself into in year 2 when Danny B basically said, we're going full rebuild. So he's had opportunities to walk away, but he said no, he's going to stay. I don't think you fire him until you give him a full team to coach, evaluate him from there, and then you make your decision. Because let's be honest, I don't know who. Fred Shiro couldn't do anything with this group. I mean, come on, man. What do we? I mean, the bar set really high for John Tortorella to. And I honestly, if you look at this holistically, Barbara, and everybody else, he's done an amazing job. He's pulled ability and talent out of some of these players that I don't think they thought they had. And I'm going to go with the Brink, Forrester, Cates situation. I mean, I know all those players are somewhat touted as high. They were all high prospects except for Cates. Cates kind of came out of nowhere, but Brink and Forrester were at one time projected to be really high scoring machines. They're not. They're solid role players as a third line, but Tortorella discovered that, and he factored in Noah Cates there, and boom, there you go. So I just think you got to be more patient with them. But you're right, though. Is John Tortorella running out of patience? That's probably the better question. On the Googles. Yes, join me on the Googles. The lineup thing kills me. Yeah, I know it does. And I know, but you know what? No, it doesn't. What do you mean it kills you? We used to fight back and forth all the time on the Fightins Final about Kyle Schwarber leading off. You were the one who used to die on or lay on the sword of, well, you only lead off once. Get out of here, man. Let's there we go. Perfect segue. So Big Al and the lineup thing kills me is proudly brought to you by, that's right, Big Al's Excuse Emporium, serving the Delaware Valley since 2024. That's right, folks. If you are having problems dealing with the reality of your Philadelphia sports teams and you just can't cope, look no further than Big Al's Excuse Emporium. Big Al's Excuse Emporium will serve and provide you everything you need to just escape from the reality that is Philadelphia sports. So come on down, bring the kids. We offer constant blue light specials. We have a snack bar, and we have free valet parking. So come on down to Big Al's Excuse Emporium today. I had to do it. Sorry, man. You led me down the road. I had to take it. Al, you were the biggest purveyor of the fact that you only lead off the game once. So have you changed that opinion? Have you decided that it's time to go conventional? If so, you're absolutely allowed to do that. The Phantoms just got better, and the Flyers picks are arriving tomorrow. The Phantoms just got better. The Flyers picks are arriving tomorrow. Who's arriving tomorrow? Who's coming into town? The Flyers make some moves that I'm not tracking. I know that some seasons are coming to an end. Some college seasons are coming to an end. Some college players, I think Ty McPherson's eligibility is over now. I think the kid out in Arizona State, he's got no choice but to sign pro or be back in the draft. I know some OHL teams. I know Lachenko's season is over. I don't know if is he one of the ones coming. I have not heard anything, Joe, about Flyer prospects coming in tomorrow. I'll look that up. If you have any information you want to provide, break the news here because I definitely want to know about it, but I've not heard anything heading into the show. That I know their season's ending, and I know Lachenko's season's over, and I know a lot of college team seasons are over, and I know there's going to be some decisions made about some prospects that have to either sign or go pro or returns, or the Flyers, they go back to the draft because their eligibility is over collegiately. So if you have some breaking news, please break it. Thompson is so wishy-washy with everything from the leadoff spot to defining the bullpen roles. Every single damn thing. Everything. And Barbara, the question I have for you and all the assembled here tonight is why, then with all that being said, why do we sit here and have aspirations of the Phillies winning a World Series? Because this is what boggles my mind, and really kind of began in 2022 when they lost in the World Series. Then they regressed and lost in the Championship Series, and they regressed even further and lost in the NLDS. Why do we think the Phillies are going to win a World Series when every year we bring back the same team, the same manager, the same group, and expect a different result? And I'm not going down the road of insanity as a definition, or the definition of insanity is doing the same thing. It's actually not the definition of insanity, by the way. The definition of insanity is a state of mental unstableness. Has nothing to do with doing the same thing over and over again. That is, I don't know who made that up, but that is not what the Webster's definition of insanity is. But I get the point. What are we thinking? Why are we thinking that the Phillies are going to win a World Series when they're so negligently run from the top? And how much more are we wasting the entire window of winning on this? And do we have a bunch of soft-ass players on this team that can only respond to a manager that lets them do whatever they want to do? And there's a whole bunch of questions here, Barbara. And again, as I said, they are a talented team. There's nothing you can tell me that is going to change my mind. They're a very talented team. They're going to make the playoffs because they're just too damn talented not to make the playoffs with all the opportunities to make the playoffs. But it's not about making the playoffs anymore. It's about winning a World Series. And they're not, in my opinion, part of that vein of teams in the league. Go old school. 100% agree, Al. 100%. 100%. And Joe agrees with you as well. And Lachenko is coming to the Phantoms. Interesting. I have not saw. I know his season's over. Now, how does that affect his service time? Because I probably wouldn't because he's with the Phantoms. I'll look into that. But okay, Joe Hal reporting it. Jet Lachenko is on his way to Allentown. Interesting. I don't know what that does. I mean, if it doesn't affect his service time or his contract life, because don't forget, we only have 3 years with this kid, and then he becomes an RFA, but, he's not going anywhere. But what does that do to his service time? But Joe Hal's reporting it here. Jet Lachenko on his way to Allentown to join the Phantoms. Now that his season with the Gulf, Jim Jackson had to, correct me about 1,000 times when I said Gulf Storm has ended. So Jet Lachenko on his way back to town. You're right. The Phillies are mentally soft. Lots of guys. Yeah. And that's a concern. Can that group of players rally around and win a World Series? Obviously, they have enough to this point, and I'm wondering whether or not they can. But with that being said, let's head over to the Phillies. I did a little thing on the Google's machine today, or the Twitter. And I assembled this. So, barring any unseen disasters or changes, this is your bench, folks. This is the Phillies 2025 bench. Rafael Marchand will be your backup catcher. Armando Sosa, the spark plug utility man, sorry. Johan Rojas, who, again, what are we doing with that? And Cody Clemens is going to be your fourth bench piece, barring any unforeseen disasters or changes. And I wonder, and the question is very valid, is this the bench of a World Series contender? You maybe would take the backup goalie, jeez, backup catcher out of the aspect here, because everybody needs a backup catcher. But when you look at Rojas, Clemens, and Sosa, is that the bench you're looking to win a World Series with? Is any one of these players strike the fear of God into anybody if they are called upon in Game 7 of the NLCS with the season on the line, a la Jake Cave in 2022? I mean, is there any? Again, I'm concerned about this. I'm not bagging on these players because I think Sosa's a really good piece there. I don't like Rojas. I don't know what Rojas is still doing in the major leagues. And Cody Clemens is a journeyman, bounces around all the time. Is this the bench that you feel comfortable with when the chips are down and you look at the bench? Now, again, with the DH, it's not the traditional pinch hitter stuff anymore. It's not the stuff we're used to or I'm used to growing up with in the National League. You have to kind of factor in the pitcher. You don't have to factor that in anymore. It's a straight bench. It's mainly used these days for defensive replacements. I get that. But still, there are those situations, a la 2023, with the season on the line, and you look down the bench and all they're sitting there is Jake Cave. Are we backing ourselves into another situation like that? Because I don't see power. I don't see consistent contact from any of these guys, with maybe the exception of Sosa. Right? What is Johan Rojas still doing on a major league roster? Can anybody explain that to me? As our depth at center field, and I think Justin Crawford got option to AAA, so he's moving up in the world. He's going from AA to AAA, so that's one step closer to Philly. But are we that weak at center field that Johan Rojas continues to skate by year after year? What is he still doing on a major league roster? Cody Clemens. I guess once you sent subs down, you needed someone to come in for late inning pitching opportunities when the Phillies were losing 15-1. I guess maybe that's what he's there to do. Once again, I'm not really feeling it with a journeyman like Cody Clemens. Sosa, everybody needs a Sosa, and I'm glad we have him, but I need more from the bench, man. I think the bench has been another problem that the Phillies have failed to address in the years that Dave Dombrowski's been here when they've been competitive. They've had weak benches year after year after year, and I'm not digging this thing at all. I get it. Mostly for defensive replacements these days. It's not necessarily the days of Greg Gross stepping in there, coming up with a key hit in the bottom of the 7th inning to move Mike Schmidt and Greg Luzinski along. I understand it's not like that. But still, looking down the bench at the end of the season, when the season's on the line, and I see these faces looking back at me, I'm a little concerned that I don't have necessarily what I need to win. So I'm asking, is this the bench of a World Series contender? Because I'm not sold on it, man. I'm not. Joe says the bench is better than last year. I disagree. I thought Weston Wilson's a better option than Cody Clemens. Weston Wilson provides some power off the bench. Who's providing the power off the bench? But again, I digress by saying that I understand that it's not the same type of situation that it was back in the 90s where you need pinch hitters. But I see when I look at these players, Joe, and this is just my opinion, so I'm entitled to it. When I look at all these players, I see the same player, the same type of guy. A lot of scratch out hits, a lot of line drive hitting, a lot of ground ball, leg it out type stuff, man. I'm sorry. I don't see somebody clearing the bases with a double in the 9th inning. I don't see a triple off the wall late in the game when the game is on the line. And I don't see the clutch home run coming from any one of these guys. And that's just because they're not power hitters. So I'm just saying, Joe, I don't think the bench is better than last year. And honestly, by saying that the bench is better than last year is not really a gauge that the bench was so great last year. The bench wasn't that good last year. It was better than it was in 22 or 23 because we got rid of Jake Cave. right? You had Merrifield, who obviously didn't work out here. Actually, no, Merrifield was a starter. So you had Dahl, what was Dahl, Wilson, Kennedy, and Stubbs? That was your bench last year, and then you had Cody. No, hell no, man. That bench last year was terrible too, man. The Phillies have had bad benches here for a long time, a long time. So Barbara says when she looks at the bench, she gets worried if any starter is out for months. Well, Barbara, I agree, but that's not necessarily, I think, what they'll be working that with. I think if anybody is lost for time, like, for example, Johan Rojas or Marsh goes down, you're more than likely going to see Justin Crawford get called up. The Phillies are not going to be able to, rotate somebody in off the bench and hand over a position to them. I think Sosa could do it maybe, for a while down there at the bottom of the lineup. He could possibly do it, but I would think that long term would have to come from the minor leagues. And there's players that could potentially fill some roles, but you're right. And that's an aspect that I don't think many people are thinking of. If we do lose Marsh, Harper, or not Harper, but say we lose any of the outfielders, Marsh, Kepler, or Castellanos, there's not much outfield depth that's major league ready. Now, we'll get an opportunity to potentially see Justin Crawford, which would be fun. Maybe Gabriel Racones Jr. comes up a little early too, and that would be fun. But you're right. There is a little concern with some depth. I 100% agree. And God forbid we lose a catcher. Because unless you're going to fly out to Los Angeles, hijack Logan O'Hoppe and bring him back to Philadelphia, and then drop Marsh off in L.A., kind of redo that trade, just make sure that, hey, it never happened in L.A. Angels, never happened. We're taking O'Hoppe back. And then we're really in a way because we don't have no catcher depth because you're bringing Garrett Stubbs back. Saying there are some depth issues in this team. I think Rojas goes down when Wilson gets healthy. The problem with Wilson getting healthy, it's going to be a process, Joe, with Wilson. He's probably not going to be cleared to play till probably May, and then they're probably going to give him at least 6 to 8 weeks down in Lehigh Valley to get a swing back. Those lat injuries are like, I'm not a medical person, but isn't it like almost like a rib injury? And I don't know if you've ever had a cracked rib. Boy, they're a pain in the ass, and they last forever. And they, there's nothing you can do with time. But I think a lat's more of a muscle pull type thing. I mean, Al, if you're still hanging around here, what exactly is a lat injury? So, but I think it's in that ab region, and they're just a pain in the ass. Matt Stairs was a professional hitter off the bench too. Yeah, he was, but back in a different era of baseball, right? Back when you had to factor in the pitcher coming out late in the game for a pinch hitter. So, and again, the whole role of the pinch hitter has changed. I understand that. And yes, it's probably more for a defensive replacement than it is and for an offensive replacement. But still, I have these images of Jay Cave in Game 7 of the NLCS against the Diamondbacks. And literally, he was the best option that we had at that time to come out with the season literally on the line. And I just have the same, I have like PTSD, I guess, about looking down the bench in Game 7 against somebody this year and then hurting out Johan Rojas or, Cody Clemens with the season on the line. Just not feeling that, Barbara. I'm not. I like Weston, but I like Cody. He did really well last year. A couple game winners. Yeah, a couple game winners, and he pitched in late innings when the Phillies needed a needed a position player to come in. Listen, Al, come on, man. What are we doing here? Cody Clemens is a journeyman, man. I know people that know Cody Clemens, and they speak very highly of him. Baseball people. When he was in the Tigers organization, I know a kid or a guy that he coaches at baseball academy down in Florida. And we work together a lot in the summer. And we talk about Cody Clemens all the time. And yeah, he's a good guy and all that. But come on, man. Are we pinning our hopes on Cody Clemens to win a World Series? He's a journeyman, man. He's a Buddy Kennedy who's probably going to get DFA'd or traded. He's he's a Weston Wilson. He's a Derek Hall. By the way, Derek Hall, man, Pittsburgh Pirates, come on. We need Derek Hall back here. Why did we let Derek Hall go? Playing for Pittsburgh this year. These are all journeyman guys, right? And they're just getting they're trying to get that paycheck in. And I get what you're saying. But really, Al, if you're looking down the end of the bench at the end of the season and you see Cody Clemens sitting there and he's your best option to keep your season on the line or going, I mean, come on, man. Aren't we supposed to put ourselves in a better position by putting better players in positions to succeed? Rojas is an all defense for them late in the game. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, okay. Yeah, I'll buy that. But is that why he's still in the major leagues? Because of his glove? I mean, we're pretty thin in the outfield when it comes to anything. And do we have the luxury of doing that? The hell with that, man. Give me somebody who can hit the ball. Matt Verling is a decent player. Trading him for Clemens was dumb. That's right. It was Verling and who else went in that deal? It was Verling and who else? Or was it straight up Verling for Clemens? Wasn't that the Soto deal? Didn't Clemens come over here for in the Soto trade, right? It wasn't just Verling. It was somebody else. I actually thought that trade was pretty good. At the time, I thought Greg Soto was going to be a difference maker. Turned out he wasn't, but I actually at the time thought that trade was pretty good. The lat is a large muscle in the back that helps with the movement of shoulder stability. Can be nagging. So it's almost like I don't know if you've ever experienced one. Does it feel like a cracked rib? You know, where you're just kind of limited and everything you do, you breathe, you move, it just hurts, it just bothers you. And is the only way to there's no easy remedy. It's just time, right? In order to heal. And Joe Hale says yes. Yes to what? Joe Hale says yes. All right. So we didn't even do our night in Philadelphia sports history. Wow. We'll have to wait. I'll put that on ice for tomorrow. We're way too deep in the show. 44 minutes in. I'm not going to backtrack to that, but I do want to touch on one thing because he says yes to the Verling trade. Yeah, but who was it? Are you saying yes, you agreed with it, or yes, he was traded in the Verling deal, or who was in it? Be more specific, Joe. The central theme of my show tonight was life is tough being a sports fan because of the roads you travel. And I was realizing this today, actually, because I sit around a lot and I look at YouTube videos and I watch stuff from the early 80s, early 80s baseball. And I was watching an all-star game from 1984. And it's on. In 1984, I was 11 years old. They're scanning down the row as they're introducing players in the All-Star game. And before they announce the name, I'm like, that's Alan Trammell. Oh, that's Mark Langston. Oh, that's it's Bo Jackson, or that's a young Kirby Puckett, or that's that's Willie Wilson, that's George Brett. I mean, I was able to rattle off these names, and I stopped at one point. And I was like, what the hell am I? What's wrong with me? Why do I know that? Right? What earthly reason do I know what Spike Owen looks like? The shortstop from back in the day. Why do I know that? Why do I know that certain things in my life are centered around sporting events? Right? Why do I know that when my ex-wife told me that she was pregnant with our first child, that all I was concerned about was the Eagles getting ready to play in the NFC Championship game against the the Falcons? What's wrong with me? And I'm wondering if it's a disease, if it's a part of, do you have any way? Because my father wasn't a sporting kind of guy. He was more of a news guy, he wasn't very athletic. He wasn't into athletics. I was always from the earliest age, mesmerized by sports and into it from a very, very early age. Why do I think about how you could make the Chicago White Sox uniforms of the 70s, where they wore the shorts and the butterfly collars, how you could bring those back today and make them more fashionable? Who does that? Who lets their mind who thinks those things through? And it comes at a cost, right? It comes at a cost. I could sit and stare. Cooperstown, New York, which obviously everybody knows where the Baseball Hall of Fame is. And I go up there a lot. I work up there in the summer a lot. I could literally stand inside of a memorabilia store for hours, just staring at the stuff on the walls. I could go down, and this happens in the malls all the time when I go to the mall, memorize every hat that's up on the wall and critique the designs and color schemes of all the hats. It's just how I could tell you the winners, the opponents in every World Series from 1979 through last year, and the winners. Who can do that? I could spend hours watching reruns of This Week in Baseball. I have the song, the theme song. It's called, was it Gathering Crowds or something? Downloaded on my phone. Who does that? So it comes at a cost. And it comes at a cost for your personal life too, because you'd rather sit at home in front of a television than go out and smell the roses. Now, that's one of the reasons why I got into umpiring. And so one of the reasons why I got into reffing was because I want to get out and actually enjoy life too. And I want to be active and all. So, if I'm going to spend time watching sports, I'm going to go out and, try to be active as I can in the sport. But I was thinking about that today. It bothered me that I could pick Spike Owen out of a crowd in the mid 80s. That I know Mark Langston was traded in 1989 to the Montreal Expos, and that a young Dave Dombrowski was the vice president of baseball operations for the Expos. And I remember the interview that he gave on the heels of the Mark Langston trade in 1989. Talking about Langston's future with the Expos, which was only for that year. How normal people don't know those things, and it comes with a cost, but it also comes with the fact that I can sit here and spout out all this stuff to you guys night after night. But being a sports fan, and you're invested emotionally in it too, especially now I bring the Philadelphia sports aspect into all this. You're invested in something specific. And the success and the failure of all your teams. And that is a guiding principle of every Philadelphia sports fan, regardless of if you come out on the homer side or the non-homer side or whatever side of fandom you come out on. You're driven by the success and the failures. And it's a great feeling when it pays off. And of course, it's a terrible feeling. And you start questioning your life at a certain point. I wouldn't change it. I'm just saying, I just got to thinking about the heady price it is to be a sports fan. I mean, when I was like, they were going down the line of the All-Stars today, and they're like, oh, yeah, it's Spike Owen. I mean, a normal person should not know that. And I was probably, 11, 12 years old back then? And we didn't have cable, of course. It was all about, sports cards. It was watching games once a week on NBC, CBS, ABC, or NBC and ABC had the games of the week. But yeah, it's not normal, man. It's not normal. But I just wanted to kind of touch on that. It was sort of like a philosophical moment for me. That's really all. But I digress. Back to the action. It was Soto. Yeah, right. So it wasn't 1-for-1 Verlander for Soto. Not for Soto, was it? It wasn't 1-for-1 because you were a nerd. So I'm like, no, Al, I'm not kidding, man. I'm sitting there and I'm like, it was another one today too. It was just rando players that you shouldn't know. I mean, they didn't even play for the Phillies. Spike Owen never played in Philadelphia. He played most of his time out in the American League, right? I can tell you Terry Steinbach's rookie slash line. The old catcher from the Oakland A's in the late 80s. I can tell you where I was on Game 3 of the 1989 World Series when the earthquake hit, right? It's just weird, man. It's just weird. They say things you experience in younger years stay with you. I 100% agree, Barbara. 100%. Matty, you know more about sports than those. No. I do not. I might have more knowledge, but they apply it better than me, I think. But just wanted to kind of go over the fact that I probably, it's just weird, man. It's weird. That I remember what I was eating for dinner the night Penn State beat Miami in the national championship in 1987. I remember that. It's weird. It's weird. But all right, let's move on to the other night segment because we're getting late into the show. So let's roll it. Yeah. It's the other night segment. It's part of the show. We do some Flyer spotlight, Philly spotlight. We talk about some NHL draft targets, and potential prospects. We're going 3 for 3, and we're finishing the Philly spotlight segment tonight. Yes, I know I could probably add Cody Clemens to the mix and Johan Rojas, 2 players that I did not add in, but I'm not wasting my graphic ability on that because I don't believe in either one of those as viable players. So to hell with it. But we're going to finish up the Phillies Phillies spotlight segment tonight with the man who gets talked about a lot, but gets forgot about a lot too. And I think he's underappreciated. I think he's extremely underappreciated. And I think his contributions to this team when it's over are going to be felt and reverberated up and down the organization. And that, of course, is our ace, Mr. Zach Wheeler. 200 on the nose innings pitched last season, a 2.57 ERA, 224 strikeouts, 52 walks, and 16 wins. It's simply put, as Zach Wheeler goes, so do the Phillies. Yes, you could probably make the same statement for Bryce Harper, but I think it applies completely to as Zach Wheeler goes, the Phillies will follow. And to be as dominant as he has been, but yet sneakily dominant, right? Because I say it all the time during the season, a bad Zach Wheeler performance is still better than 90% of good performances of the pitchers in Major League Baseball. And he grabs the ball every 5th day and he pitches 7-8 innings a game, and he's there in the playoffs. I mean, he is an ace, and he did not start out to be an ace. He kind of rolled into that, developed into that form here. Hasn't been hurt since 2017. Let me bang on some wood here because obviously that's a concern, but we are a playoff team because solely of a player like Zach Wheeler. I mentioned it on the show yesterday on our preview show. We have the privilege of having probably the top, and I know Nola's going to be down at 3 because of lefty righty, but Nola Wheeler are 1A, 1B in the ace category, and not many, if any, Major League Baseball teams can say that. So I felt it appropriate and applicable to finish up the Philly Spotlight Series for 2025 with the man, the myth, the legend, the ace of the Philly staff, and, of course, my 5th starter on my all-time Philly rotation. That's right. Zach Wheeler is my 5th starter on my all-time Phillies rotation. That's how good he is, and that's how good he's been for us as he's been here. I want to win a World Series for this guy. He deserves a ring. More than probably any of the players on this team. But Zach Wheeler, consistent 16 wins, finished 2nd in the Cy Young Award voting again last year. He's a constant Cy Young potential winner every season, and he enters this season once again as our ace. And there you go. That's going to end our Philly spotlight, our Philly spotlight for the year 2025. So that's another check mark off the box. Don't have to go back to do that. Let's go on to some Phillies prospects because there's just some names that we'll be hearing from in the very near future, but not this name because this guy's a little bit lower down in the line. Arun Escobar, the second base, third base prospect currently playing for the FCL Phillies. That's the rookie leagues. When he was healthy, Escobar's surface numbers and the underlying data behind them last year point to a potential breakout. Even when he wasn't putting up numbers in the DSL, which is the Dominican Summer League, he was showing an advanced approach at the plate with a lot of walks to go along with minimal swing and miss or chase. But while he was making a lot of contact, he wasn't finding the barrel. He learned last year how to get his body behind the ball from the right side of the plate, allowing him to impact the ball a lot more consistently. and start tapping into his raw power. Escobar is a way, way, way in the future kind of guy. Maybe never even sees Philadelphia, but just a kind of an example of some of the young talent that is stashed way down low in the lower levels of the minor leagues. And currently within the Phillies organization, I think he's ranked like the 10th overall highest prospect, or he's up top 10, I believe, of ranked prospects in the Phillies organization. So Arun Escobar, your prospect of the night. And then we'll finish it up with our NHL draft target is Porter Martone, the right wing from the Mississauga, from the OHL Mississauga team. He's 6'3", 196 pounds. He's got a big pro game and a frame. He's a good skater who goes to the net, finishes his check, handles the puck smoothly for his size, and can be quite noticeable in possession when he's playing with confidence and intention. So, love the 6'3", love the 196. Want to see a little bit more, about 10 more pounds. But right wing is a position we have quite a bit of, and I'm not looking for any more right wingers. But will he be available in the lower end of the first round? We're getting kind of deep into our NHL draft breakdown, and we're getting more down into the 20s now. And these are some of the players that could potentially go in the 20s or even fall into day two. Or I'm sorry, in the second round. There is no day two, but there's day two. And day two in the second round. Forgot it's the NHL draft. But he's a project guy. He might go bottom first round or top second, or potentially mid second. But as it says here in his little bio, he's got a good frame and he's got a pro game and he's a good skater. So he's got 3 blocks checked that NHL teams are going to be looking for. So a project, bottom first round, top part of the second round. So there you go. Porter Martone, our NHL draft prospect of the night. And that's going to wrap up the Other Night segment, as we do hear it on every single night. It was Nick Maton. There you go. Good job, Joe. Nick Maton, I forgot about him. And Matt Verling for Soto and Clemens. Yeah, I thought it was a good trade, man. Honestly did. Really did. Whether was a Cy Young Award this year. You know what, Joe? I believe you. I absolutely 100% believe you there, because he's in the running for it every single season. But let's get it. Let's finish it up, man, with my man. This is the fun part of the night. Let's do it. Yeah. It's the MattyB card review segment. It's how we wrap up just about every show every single week, where we take one of my vast sports cards and we just sort of cut it up, talk about some intrinsic value, some financial value, just have some fun with it. Last night we came home, folks. We did a Mike Schmidt 89 Dunruss in the old maroon pinstripe home uniforms. And it made me feel good again. And then going off my sports knowledge, I could tell that the background photo, if you look, it's the I could bring it up. I don't have it anymore, but it's Schmidt at the plate swinging, and then you can see the dugout of the visiting team right behind him. And in the dugout, it's Tim Foley from the Montreal Expos. Again, kind of plays into what in the hell am I doing with my life, that I know that it's Tim Foley sitting in the Expo dugout in the 89 Dunruss Mike Schmidt baseball card. But tonight we're going with a pitcher that befuddled me, and more importantly, befuddled the Phillies in those 90s, and actually this pitcher kind of got better with age, and he's sneaky good throughout his career. And that is Mr. The man himself, man. I'm a big fan of this guy, but I hated him when he was a player because he consistently boggled the Phillies. El Presidente, man. Dennis Martinez of the Montreal Expos. But, of course, that was towards the end of his career. This is his 1992 Studio card. Now, Studio is a subsidiary of the Leaf company. Leaf printed baseball cards for a couple seasons. They don't do it anymore, but this was their 92 version. They're set out of 92, and there's Martinez there. It's kind of creepy looking. I don't know. It's a unique design. There's, I think Fleer did one, or Leaf did something similar in 95 as well. which was kind of really creepy. It's almost like they're posing for these things, like in a professional studio. And this is the Dennis Martinez card. This card's worth about $4 on the open market. Martinez, again, as I mentioned, sneaky good, but not till later in his career. Broke into the major leagues in 1976 with Baltimore, was with them for 10 seasons or 11 seasons through 86, was traded to the Expos in 86, pitched in Montreal from 86 to 93. And that's where he really, I think, rounded into form as a pitcher. He was a right-hand pitcher, 245 and 193 for his career. A career ERA of 3.70, over 2,100 strikeouts. Just gave the Phillies fits. Was a bona fide ace for the early 90s. I mean, think about the early 90s Montreal Expos. You know, you had a young Pedro Martinez, you had a young Randy Johnson, and you had Dennis Martinez. I mean, come on, man. Come on. That's what the rotation was featuring. And, he's from Canada, born and raised in the Canadian province. Well, he's actually from Nicaragua, but because of his time in Montreal and what he did for the Expos, he was inducted to the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame in 2016, not into the actual Hall of Fame. But four-time All-Star, 90, 92, and 95. He led the league in wins in 81, led the league in ERA in 91, and he has a perfect game in his resume in 1991. And he's also a member of the Baltimore Orioles Hall of Fame. So a member of the Baltimore Orioles Hall of Fame and a member of the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. Dennis Martinez, El Presidente, as he was known back in the day. And again, this card, not one of your more sleek designs, kind of creepy, right? I ain't gonna lie, it's creepy. It's about $3 or $4 on any database. So, and here it is. Here's El Presidente and the studio layout of the 92 studio cards for Dennis Martinez. And there you go, man. There's my card of the night. It's a creepy card, dude. It's a creepy, creepy, creepy card. Night, Barbara. Yes, thank you for tuning in, Barbara. Thank you as always. Did Gary Carter catch Martinez at the Expos? Yeah, I think he did, actually. So Martinez was there in 83, 86. Yeah, no, Carter was gone in 86. Carter was a Met in 86. So no, they never actually crossed paths in Montreal. So the Flyers prospect that's going to the Phantoms, it doesn't affect his eligibility. So Jet Lachenko's eligibility will not be affected by going to the Phantoms. Okay, that's good. And obviously get Jet Lachenko back down there into Allentown, get him some reps. He's got to be part of the future next year. So good. Again, Joe Hale on top of the reporting for the It's a Wrap Sports Network and the final word tonight. Joe, thank you for your contributions. And thank you, everybody, for your contributions on a late night. We got off to a little bit of a late start because Big Al stepped in for Sal, had to go on at 9. I want to thank Big Al from the bottom of my heart for helping me out and doing an amazing job behind the mic. Welcome back anytime, my man. And if you've missed that episode of the Wraparound with Sal G, go ahead and check it out on the Google's machine or on our YouTube account, all of our X or our Facebook. Also, make sure if you missed this episode, if you're coming in late, you can go ahead and check that out also on the YouTube. And we'll be back tomorrow night. But we will be coming in following Flyers Maple Leaf postgame. Sal G with you tomorrow night on the Clear the Ice program. And we are 3 flipping days away. 3 away from the opening of the 2025 baseball season. And I could not be. I'm excited. Tomorrow's going to suck. Wednesday's really going to suck. There's no more baseball to talk about at all because Phillies minor league season's over. Their spring training is over. I watched a lot of it. But now it's on for real. Do the Phillies have enough? The race will start on Thursday in DC against the Nationals. And here you go. Here's your Fighting's final opening lineup. Me and Sal got you on opening day. Mike got you on Saturday. And me and Big Al coming at you on Sunday to finish up the National Series. And then off and running to the races for 2025. Season 4 of the Fighting's finals back. We will end our coverage of the Flyers Clear the Ice on March 31st with me and Big Mike covering the Flyer Predator game. And we'll concentrate solely on baseball and some NFL draft stuff that we got coming up. So a lot of things going on. And we do have some big announcements. Yes, I'm waiting for some phone calls, waiting for some confirmations from some people to make some announcements. But we have some big show announcements to be made here very soon, and I hope I can get them out to you very soon. So make sure you're staying tuned and checking us out on all the platforms. And I'll talk to you guys tomorrow night. And don't forget, we got Clear the Ice tomorrow night. So again, thanks to Big Al. Thanks to everybody else for tuning in, for chiming in. Joe, Michael, Dave Yarnell, Barbara, all those that made this what this is. I appreciate it. And keep watching, keep tuning in, and spread the word. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night and even better tomorrow.